Hi there, Emmeline here. Day 3 of the 40-day challenge of sharing what is on my heart and what is going on in my life. And yeah, I think this is actually really beneficial to me already. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things going on in my life right now and a lot of pieces moving, and so there's always a lot coming through for me. But I think it's been really interesting today because one of the things that came through for me today, and it was kind of ignited by a conversation that I had with someone that I just met in like an online container that I was on. And she reached out and was just like resonating with what I shared and the work that I was doing in the world. And so we met and just had a chat just to connect. And it was through that I really like kind of connected some dots around just kind of like my nature as a person. And of course, we're like multifaceted, right? And have like all these different aspects. But I have a lot of fire and I have a lot of, um, like, I'm the kind of person that I create forward motion wherever I am, that I kind of move things in a forward direction. And that's just what comes naturally to me. There's nothing that I have to do. It's just like naturally kind of what comes through me. Um, it's my like way of being in the world. It drives things forward. And what I realized today while I was on the phone with this woman, on Zoom with this woman, is that, it's like my whole life, it's kind of felt like that's too much for a lot of people. And I think a lot of it's in the way that I've approached it in the past, right? And the way that I've approached it in the past, it's been, um, probably not, like, not very gentle, not very thoughtful. Um, but it also just brought up, like, so many times where just, like, my energy, like, the level of energy that I have and that I carry, it, like, it scares people. And I know that sounds crazy, but like this is just something that I've experienced over and over again in my life, is that just like the level of energy that I carry with people can be overwhelming. And it's overwhelming to me, right? I mean, that's part of my whole like thing of like why I've spent so many years trying to get my nervous system regulated and like be okay, is because I have like so much energy within me that it's hard to manage, you know. It's like, being a sensitive person and having this much energy like in a physical container is it's a lot to like learn how to figure out how to deal with and like move through life with. And so it's really interesting to me because I realized it's like, and I knew this before, but it just kind of like put some dots together for me today, how when I was in graduate school, I started shutting myself down. That's when I really started like putting a cap on my expression, and I needed to, because like the way that I was expressing things was like really coming from a place of like, you know, un like unprocessed rage and a lot of things that happened in my childhood that had not been processed, and so the way that things were coming out was not helpful to anyone. Um, but because of that, I just started like squashing my life force energy, basically. Um, because like our rage is tied up in that. It's a big part of our fire, our life force energy, our kundalini, our shakti. And rage comes up when you have boundaries that are being crossed. Rage comes up when you have things that are happening in your life that like this is out of alignment with who I am and what I stand for, right? That's when rage comes up. Rage is not a bad thing. On this planet, especially in, you know, where we've been. I don't know about where we're going, but where we've been, it's been a necessary part of what is needed to help us function in the outside world. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess all of this to say, like, I've known this for a while, that, part of all of the like health problems and chronic pain and depression and all the stuff that I started experiencing when I was in graduate school, it was because of this. It was because I started shutting myself down. But, part of the reason that I'm doing this whole 40-day thing is like really working on my authentic expression in a container that I don't have to worry about, like, oh, this is for this business, or this is for, X, Y, and Z. This is just for me to express and be who I am. Because ultimately, what we should be doing in our lives to support ourselves, it should be 100% aligned with who we authentically are. But if we don't know how to express ourselves authentically, then how can we talk about anything that we're doing in the world authentically, right? And so, for me, that's a lot of what this is. And I don't know, I guess it's like a way to get out the wiggles and the being able to figure out, like, how do I be myself fully, and also, drive forward the things that I feel passionate about in this world, because it is my nature. It is my nature to drive things forward, and it's not a bad thing. I'm learning so much about this now, and about how to balance it. And, luckily I have a partner who in a lot of ways is my opposite. She's, I would say we're both very grounded, but she does things a lot more slowly, and just like really enjoys things, and like has more, or I'm more of like the forward direction. She's like more of the spiral, which you need both. You have to have both, because if it's just always forward direction, then there's no life, right? There's no enjoyment of life. There's no experience, really. It's just always running to the next thing, which is, what we've gotten caught up in this world, right? Everyone has. But, naturally there are people that are more fiery, right? And then there are people that are not. And I think that's just one of the things that I've come to realize about myself. The longer that I live on this planet, the more that I realize that the people that I'm around, if there's somebody that's spending a lot of time around me, they change. And everybody's changing. Everyone's always changing, But I do push people, I guess. Maybe that's not a good way to say it, but I think that is true. That there's like a, that when people come into my field for a period of time, that they need a push. They need, they need a push in a particular direction. And I can do that. And I do that without even trying, which is great. I mean, that's the whole idea of knowing yourself, right? And knowing what your talents are, and knowing how you're naturally wired, so that you can be doing things that come naturally to you, that you don't have to work really hard for. Because that's how you live an easeful life. That's how you honor who you came to be in this life, is just being that person. So, interesting day for me. But I think it remains to be seen, how I can show up like this in a way that is not overwhelming to people. Because, that also is, that there's balance, right? In everything there has to be balance. And that's part of my lesson here too. And that's, part of what I'm here to cultivate in my own life and in the world, is balance. Because forward movement is part of reality. It's part of our universe. It's part of our lives. But presence is key. And being fully present, fully embodied, is key. It's key to all of that. And then the forward movement, it doesn't come through striving. It just comes naturally. It comes because that is the way that the universe is designed. And you don't have to like make it happen by your own blood, sweat, and tears. I am learning. We're all learning. But yeah, it was a beautiful learning today. So I'm really thankful for that conversation, and hopefully I didn't scare her off because she was a lovely person. um, but yeah, it was a quite lovely conversation, and yeah, those are the kind of people that I would, like to connect with more and create with more. And I think that's, one thing that's, it's interesting because I think that's one thing that's like a little bit challenging for me, because a lot of the people that I really like connect with and like resonate with what they're doing and how they think and the way that they move through life, they are people who tend to be like very soft and very gentle and very slow. Because I have that, like, that's a big part of myself as well. It's just a part that I'm trying to learn how to tend, because it is the part that anchors me here, you know? And so it's necessary. And um, there is a part of me that is my nature. That is my true nature. But then there's this other part of me that's like on a mission, you know? So like trying to integrate those two parts, I think, is a lot of this journey. But it's just, I think it's challenging for me. It's actually not challenging for me to be in spaces with the people that are like more of the soft, the slow, the gentle. I actually really enjoy it, but I think it's difficult for them to be with me, is what I've seen. And some of the feedback that I hear. It can be difficult like when I'm being truly me, when I'm like really expressing as myself. It can actually be very difficult and overwhelming for these people, um, because of the amount of energy that comes out of me. Um, yeah, it can be like very activating. And so, yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess it's going to be interesting for me as I, continue to move through life and work with different types of people to see how that, how that can work. Um, because these are the kinds of people that I actually think are, um, like the key to building a beautiful reality here on this planet. It's the people that know how to slow down. It's the people that know how to be gentle, that know how to listen to their bodies and listen to the earth and honor that. Not just listen, but actually respond in a way, like, respond in the way that they're being asked, and like truly be a collaborator in spaces that require you to slow down and require you to be soft and require you to be gentle. And I'm like completely committed to walking that path, and I do. Like, I'm cultivating that in myself. But then there's this other part of me that is just as much my truth and just as much a part of me as this part that is soft and slow. And it is like this fiery energy. And yeah, I'm not one or the other, I'm definitely both. And so finding spaces where you can be both, and both are welcome in truth. I think there's a lot of places where people say that both are welcome, but what I've experienced is that it's usually more one or the other. It's usually more, people who are really caught up in a lot of like fiery expression, and sometimes that's not even rooted in anything, right? That's not even grounded in anything. That's not really for specific forward momentum, but really just like expression of rage, expression of pain, expression of grief, which all of those things are valuable and important, but it can also be easy to get caught up in that, because those are all endless wells. That's emotion. It's just human emotion, and there's no end to that. And so, it's like there's a lot of spaces like that, but that's not the kind of fire that I'm talking about. Um, you know, the fire that I'm talking about, there's also no end to it. But I guess it's fire with an agenda. Let's put it that way. I was gonna say fire with a purpose, but I think all emotions, they have a purpose, right? I'd say this is like more of an agenda. which I'm like completely fine with. Like, I know that I'm here for a specific purpose, and I have no qualms with that. I'm not one of these, spiritual people that, think that you need to relinquish everything and, um, yeah, and not have any desires. That's a very masculine kind of spiritual way of thinking. That's not my way. Um, the reason that life exists is because of a union of the masculine and the feminine is the desire. The feminine is the experience and the enjoyment and the slowness of life and everything that is within it. And part of that is desire. Um, and we encode desires on our heart when we incarnate, and those desires will take us in the direction that is going to be most beneficial to our soul, but also most beneficial to the reality that we incarnated in, if we can like really connect to the desires of our heart, right? Not the desires of our ego, but the desires of our heart. And so I think that's really important, and I'm very connected with that. I know what I'm here to do, at least in part. You never know everything. I've learned that you never know everything, but I know at least in part what I'm here to do. What I'm here to do right now. Now in 10 years, in 5 years, I don't know. But right now I know. And so when I say I have an agenda, that's what I mean. There is massive change that I'm here to be a part of creating on this earth. And that's part of the way that I'm, coded the way that I am. That I am the way that I am. But in order for me to like really step into that role, I have to reclaim that part of myself, which is part of why I'm doing this. But reclaim it in a way that isn't just like plowing people over, because that's part of the problem, is that I can steamroll people very easily. I can just come over and like take over everything, and yeah, it's not good. It's not good for me, it's not good for other people. So I'm learning how to collaborate, learning how to work with other people in a good way, so that I can do what I came here to do in a good way, and not just like blow things up, because I'm not here to blow things up. Nope, not this time. But yeah, I think that's what I've got for today. Nothing else seems to be rattling around immediately. So yeah, I will check back in tomorrow, and have a beautiful day.